lot of people have talked about you already on the show, but everyone welcome Jordan Webb, one of my really good friends. Met the same exact way as most people on the show, met through Service Autopilot Academy. Jordan's a stud of a guy. He owns 2 seasons, or did own, I don't know where he's at with 2 seasons. And he also owns Deckmasters. So I don't even know where all this is at. It's been a minute, but I have a good story to tell first. So when I was laying in bed one night, trying to figure out Service Autopilot, not even trying to figure it out, like I was looking for a software platform, a cloud-based software platform, because I was so sick of struggling on the Excel spreadsheet and paper for routing. And signed up for Service Autopilot that night, laying in bed, pulled up the Academy thing. I was like, what's this? I was like, man, it's $797. I was like, I can't really afford it, but I had a credit card and I put my credit card in only because I watched your video. So Jordan is the reason that I'm here. Jordan's the reason that I met Service Autopilot. Jordan's the whole reason that that everything happened to where it is today. So it's kind of a wild story, but it's just, it was your biggest badass video, sharing your story of what you were going through at the time. And I was like, man, like, I think I told you this before. I was like, I just want to be like that guy. And your video is so inspiring. And I was like, I have to join in. So you're the reason that I made it to Service Autopilot. So thank you for that. But I just wanted to share that story quick.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I actually haven't listened to all the podcasts you've already done. I didn't know you're already in the 50s. That's awesome. So
yeah, I think Jonathan was episode 50.
Okay.
That was a few weeks ago, and then then we finally crossed the year. So here we are.
That's great. I love it.
Top 1%. We're averaging a couple thousand downloads a month, which has been pretty cool to see.
That's great.
It's been strange that, people have been reaching out to me almost on, maybe not daily, but every other day, every week or so. So yeah, we made it just over a year, and again, here we are.
That's great.
Been a pretty wild ride. Mm-hmm. But anyway, people have just been reaching out over the last week, 2 weeks. Feels like every couple of days, someone's reaching out saying, hey, I've been following your podcast, listening. You've really been helping me out a lot lately. And it's been a crazy story. I had a person that was at Pest World last week in Hawaii, and she ran into this girl that was on the podcast. She said, hey, weren't you just on a podcast? So her name's Maria. And she's like, yeah, I was. And she's like, oh my God, you're famous. Can I take a picture of you? And it's actually this podcast right here. So, and she's like, is he here? And she's like, no, he's not. So she sent a picture. It's just super cool.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, just, kind of like yourself, like we want to make an impact,
Absolutely. 100%. I'm actually really glad this is my first official podcast. I've been invited to like 12 different podcasts for different reasons. This is the first one I pulled the trigger on. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to have you on my podcast. So you said in the beginning, like, this is Jordan Webb, he owns 2 seasons and Deckmasters. Well, I sold 2 seasons. I own Deckmasters, and I own Freedom Brothers, which is a consulting, it's a contracting mastermind group. So it's, I may have already told you about it. I've been working on Freedom Brothers and wanting to do Freedom Brothers since 2015. And it's launched. We have, well, I'll just kind of tell you this just so you know, but it's really amazing. We have 27 contractors that meet every week at the same time. It's Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central Time, where contractors from across the states all come together and actually work on each other's businesses. So we do like contractor hot seats, where they'll bring up business issues, family issues, marriage issues, financial, taxes, really anything. And we dive into it. And that community is 100% free. It's just contractors from Alaska, Hawaii, Florida, Connecticut, all come together and work on each other's businesses. It's a 1 hour sharp. Like, we want to be respectful of everyone's time. If you want to ever be a part of it, totally welcome to. There's landscapers. There's guys that do multi-billion-dollar property, $1 million, like $30 million properties here in Maui. And they're part of the community. There's awesome. It's an awesome group of guys for sure. Yeah, it's called Contractor Hot Seat. It's really awesome. I'd love to have you on there too, because a lot of these guys, they're in pursuit of growing their business or growing their family or having a better family life or taking care of their body. It's actually broken up into 4 things. We focus on our faith, our family, our fitness, and our finances. And so, and it's all free. And then we have a paid community, a mastermind group called Freedom Brothers, where we have 2 retreats a year, 1 retreat in Alaska, 1 retreat in Hawaii. And
Imagine that.
yeah, exactly. And we dive into each other's businesses. And then there's only like a handful of contractors in that community, but those are like guaranteed results. And guys like you and I coming together, like what we've experienced through Service Autopilot Academy. So
Right on. So you guys all know Jordan lives in Hawaii half the year, and the other half the year is in Anchorage, right? Alaska?
yeah, I live in Hawaii 9 months a year and live in Alaska for 3 months. So
I'm assuming that it's June, July, August. You live in.
yeah, it's like May 15th to like July, August, so just summer months.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with all the craziness going on in Hawaii, what was that like?
It was really sad to see. Oh, you mean the fires, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fires
Yeah,
are devastating. I thought you were talking about COVID. COVID was sad, but it was super rich for my family. When it came to the fire, that's just devastating. It's unbelievable, truly. And actually, it could have happened. We had flames like half a mile from our house, 50 foot high. Like we could see the flames, and the wind was blowing perfectly south from north to south. If the wind would have shifted a little bit like southwest, it would have like come towards our home, and it would have taken out Kihei. It would have. I mean, it's devastating what happened.
Gotcha. So, not to get too like political or this, but was there a lot of propaganda around that, or like they're saying like how it happened, how they didn't sound the alarms, like all that? Like you were in it, so what was it like over there?
Yeah. So surprisingly, what you heard is pretty close to what happened. Like police officers blocked off roads. They shut off the water. School was canceled, so kids were left at home. Parents were working. Alarm was not sound. People like literally just got engulfed in flames. And at the beginning, they were like saying like, oh yeah, 30 something bodies, found. Well, that's because the fire burned so hot that the bodies disintegrated, literally, like into ash. And so they couldn't find bodies. So all that is left is like brick, rock, and metal. And the metal that's left is melted into like channels of the ground. So it's unreal how crazy that fire got.
And you could like to today, is it getting cleaned up, or what's the state of it now?
Yeah, I believe it's getting cleaned up. They put a fence all the way around it to block it off. It's kind of like a hazard zone. And the first like couple of weeks, there was a lot of people going in there to bringing like, not necessarily in that area because everything just got destroyed, but more around the areas, helping people like get prescriptions filled, get food, and like because grocery stores, everything just like shut down. And actually, like we have friends that live in the mother-in-law of the house I'm living in right now, and they lost like their house and 3 boats. They have a commercial boating company. They lost 3 boats and their house, and now they're living in like 500 square feet. And it's just, yeah. And that's like one of thousands of people displaced.
Yeah. So you were living there at the time. What were they saying to you guys? Like,
well, actually, it was just a small brush fire. And like we watched it. I actually woke up 4 o'clock and went out into, I have an infrared sauna, and I was sitting in the sauna, and I can see the reflection in the glass door, and there was like this little glow on the mountain, and I thought like, oh, that kind of looks like a fire. And then as the sun came up, it was like more smoke, and I was like, oh yeah, that is a fire. And I watched it, but it's pretty normal. Like we see fires yearly all the time. Ever since they took out the farming in Hawaii, there's a ton of like dry lands that's just dead. And so when a fire starts, it just burns everything up real fast. But it usually goes up the mountain and stops at the top of the mountain because it runs out of stuff to burn. this was unique because the hurricane had the winds go down the mountain, which pushed the whole flames down from the mountain all the way to the ocean. So everything between where the fire started and the ocean literally got burnt up, and it didn't stop until it ran out of fuel, which all there was left was water and rock and metal.
Yeah.
Which is
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
And then you brought up COVID too. You can touch on that real quick. Like you just like, it was just devastating, like it was sad because it was so quiet there. Or?
Oh, I mean, it was sad to see like people had to sell their houses, people had to move out of state because it's expensive to live here. Like I think the second or third most expensive place to live in America. And we live in Kihei, and Wailea is like really expensive as well. And people had to move off the island because they're so dependent on tourism. Tourism shut down. So dependent on car rental or car sales, that shut down. Everything got like super regulated. It was really rich for my family and I. It was amazing. Like everyone thought you couldn't go to the beaches. And so my wife and kids, you could go to the beach, but the rule was you can't put up a chair and you can't put up an umbrella. You had to keep walking. And so I'm kind of always testing my limits and my boundaries.
For sure.
And everyone was like scared. You can't go to the beach. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the beach. Like I'll apologize later if like I do something wrong. And so we went to the beach almost every day, and we had like our favorite beach all to ourselves, like all the time. It was amazing. But it was sad. I told my kids, I said, I'm so grateful we get to experience this. Like you guys get to experience this thing that you'll probably never, hopefully ever experience again. Like just soak this up, but hopefully this never happens again.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So why don't you just tell everyone like how you got into the industry, kind of this few highlights along the way until your exit, and then how you started Deckmasters and all that.
Yeah, so I got into the industry. My wife now for 15 years, we're dating in middle school, started dating at 13. We got pregnant at 16 in high school. I remember I walked up to my dad. It was a very trying season of life, very challenging in a lot of ways. But my dad, I said, like, what do I do? And he was like, you need to get a job. And I grew up working a lot. I loved working. I was fulfilled through physical labor. Like that's just I could not talk and just work for hours, right? So I was like, I'll just do everything that I've been doing. Kind of like I grew up in a small town in Alaska, Willow, Alaska. It's like 900 to 1,000 people-ish that live there. And I started my business there. So I was 16 years old. It was about a month before I turned 17, and Kylie, our baby, was due like a month later. And we were just dating, started the business and started door knocking on every door. So I'd take a canoe or I'd take like our pontoon boat and drive down the lake, and we'd pull up to a house. I'd leave a door flyer on all these doors on the lake. And so these people that had cabins on the weekend, they would come to the property and they'd see like, oh, whoa, this guy could cut down trees, cut lawns, chop wood, and get everything done. And so that's how I started. I just started letting everyone know on the lake. And before you knew it, like literally within 2 weeks, I had like a full schedule. I had so many retainer walls to build, trees to cut. And I did tell them my story. Like I have a baby on the way. I need to make money. So people were like, oh, let's like, we need these things done. And this guy's willing to do them. Like, let's get it on the schedule. So that's where I started. I got married a month later. I turned 17. 2 weeks later, got married. 2 weeks after that, had my oldest daughter. And 6 months after that, moved into Anchorage and moved my company into Anchorage, Alaska. So I kind of started fresh again on my second year, was doing lawn maintenance, landscaping, and snow plowing with all my clients. And that's kind of where it started. But it was really a side gig to get into I was going to be a chiropractor. That was the main reason that I went to college. So I moved in Anchorage, started going to school to be a chiropractor. And my degree was health science, did that for 5 years. While I was doing that, from 17 to 22, I worked for a company that built custom decks in Alaska. I worked for a realtor at night while my kids slept, painted vacant houses and switching out outlets and cleaning carpets and bathrooms. Did that while my family slept. Went to school full time. So yeah, went to school full time, worked for a construction company, worked for this realtor, and then ran my business all for like 5 years. And that's where I started, and kind of alluded to the video in the academy that I was not around. I literally would wake up between 3 and 4:30. And the two things I would never sacrifice was eating dinner with my family at 6 p.m. and I would always sleep in my bed. Those are the two things I was like, I'm not gonna, like I could have left and worked on the oil fields and made 6 figures right off the get-go. And I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. I wanna be home with my wife and kids. And I was young. I should say that the month I moved into Anchorage to go to chiropractic college, I was 17 with a 6-month-old baby, married for 6 months with my second baby on the way. And so there was a fire under my ass that was like, I need to keep moving. And I did. And before you know it, I was 19 with 3 kids, and then 21 with 4 kids, and 25 with 5 kids, and then 30 with 8 kids. And so yeah, now I have 8 kids, and it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of fun. It's been really hard. But as far as transitioning, I think you asked me to transition kind of how I got into Deck Masters. Like I said, I was working for that deck company. I was running my business, and while I was running my business, not only was I building decks for myself, but I had a 2-year non-compete with the company I worked for that I wouldn't build a deck for 2 years, and I respected that and listened to I feel like no one really would have in that area. They kind of would have done whatever they wanted, but I felt like I should do that. So
you're a good dude. You really are.
Well, thanks. And so I respected the 2-year non-compete, even though I was like, just couldn't wait to build one deck with my landscape company. And once that 2 years up, I kind of started marketing and letting people know, like, hey, I build decks, and started building decks. I quit chiropractic college. So I should say that I was doing all those 5 things. Well, in 2012, I was getting ready to go to Davenport, Iowa to go to chiropractic college for 5 years. And it was going to cost like $400,000. I had 4 kids. I was 21 or 22. And I was 21. And I was 2 weeks away from actually leaving Alaska and going there. And right before, this is my story, it felt like God told me to stay in Alaska, serve the city, and raise up men. It was like super clear. And that doesn't happen a lot. Like the only time I ever felt like that clear message was when I was 13 years old. I felt like God told me I was going to marry my wife. And I just said, okay. Actually, another time, this is the 3rd time. I don't know if I've ever told you the story about Jonathan Potoshnik, the co-founder of Service Autopilot, and who was part of actually he was on your podcast.
He was.
Yeah. So Jonathan, this is a crazy story. I was 18 years old, mowing lawns with my best friend, and I'm going to school to be a chiropractor. I'm building decks for this company, and people are like, that's impossible. You couldn't have done all those things. No, it was possible, because I actually did. Like, still to this day, I've been married for 15 years. Kylie's never had a job, ever. Never had a W-2 check, ever. And like, our priority was, she's going to take care of the home. She's going to do what she can to be an amazing wife, an amazing mom, homeschool mom. She takes kids on adventures all the time. Like, that's what we want. We didn't want her to like be a dual income home. And so that's something that is fairly unique, especially with 8 kids living in Hawaii and Alaska back and forth. But back to the story, I'm 18 years old watching Jonathan's Lawn Care Millionaire YouTube channel. I'm like, it's like 2009, 2010. And this is like a side hustle for me, just to pay for college and just to increase my lifestyle so that I can take my friends camping and like pay for all the meals. Like, I just wanted to make memories. And so the lawn care business was a temporary business that paid for college and paid for lifestyle. Well, I'm watching this, trying to better my lawn care company. And Jonathan's like showing his trucks and showing how he made it. I'm just like, this is gold. Like, no one shows their competitors what they're doing. This guy's awesome. And out of nowhere, I get this overwhelming sense, like it was the voice that said, "You're going to be his friend." And I was so blown off by this. I sat back in my chair and I just thought, I looked at my best friend at the time, Daniel. I said, "Daniel, I'm going to be his friend." Like I'm telling Daniel, like I'm going to be his friend. And then Daniel starts slapping his leg, falls on the ground laughing because I'm super optimistic and I dream big. And he's like, "That's so ridiculous. Like this guy lives in a different state. He's a millionaire. Like we're living in a tiny apartment. We got kids. Like there's no way you're going to be this guy's friend." And then sure enough, I went to the first Service Autopilot conference, and that's where it all started. I joined the academy, and the rest is history. But I don't get that voice very often, but every time I have, it's happened. It's happened. It was, I'm going to marry my wife, and I did. And then I'm going to be friends with Jonathan. And then it was stay in Alaska and do these things. And I had so much peace about it. I was like, wow, I just went to college for like 4 years, and I'm going to stop everything to jump into landscaping, like that's crazy. Anyway, I feel like I was rambling on there a little bit.
No, it was great. But like, it was funny going back to like the memories that you had of like finding Jonathan online and watching his content over and over and over, watching all his videos, getting the notifications when a new video would pop up, and then going to meet him for the first time. Felt like he's a celebrity that we're best friends already, and he doesn't even know it. And then he looks at you like, I'm like, "Hey, JP, what's going on?" He's like, "Who the hell is this dude?"
So funny.
Yeah, but he's again, it's so weird. Like, I didn't get that feeling that you thought, but I was like, man, it'd be awesome if I could just meet this guy.
Right.
And now to say that he's one of my best friends is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to hang out with him. I get to talk to him whenever I want to. Like, it's surreal. And the next thing you know, fast forward 7 years, now I'm speaking at their conference this next week, and it's just strange how it all just played out. It's very, very strange.
I didn't know you were speaking too. I can't believe I'm missing out on all this.
John, I know.
You're speaking.
It's just strange.
It's amazing. I'll be speaking at a conference in Dallas in January, and it'll be for contractors, it'll be for remote contractors. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and at first I was like, okay, it'd be cool to go speak there. But I'm speaking to all my friends, which is very strange because they all did the same thing I did. So I'm just going to go into it thinking like, I'm just going to tell everyone what works for me, not say you got to go do this, go do that. Like it's kind of like the podcast. I'm just trying to share what we do, what works well for us. And if they can take some information out of it, I think it'd be great.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's super
So then you join Service Autopilot Academy, and is it the next year when you make the video? Is it SA2, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that first year of being a part of the academy is when I made a huge transition. And it couldn't have been better timing. Like our marriage was on the fritz. It was like, no matter how hard we tried, we weren't getting traction. It was like everything was broken in the sense of our family operating systems, our business operating systems. Like it was just chaos, just straight chaos. I mean, at this time, I'm 21 years old with 4 kids, and it was a lot of responsibility, and then all the clients. So it brought so much structure, and simple structure, not like structure like you got to do all these things. It was more like time blocking. That was huge, where I basically told myself where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing at that specific time, and I wouldn't argue with it. I would just do it. And that literally changed my life. Like I operate that today, like literally like in a journal. So that was the beginning of it.
Yeah. So then you make the video that year and the business evolves. But then I was unaware that you sold it. I know we talked not too long ago. You still had it.
Just like 2 months ago, I sold it.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
So I had a lot's happened in the last several years. At one point, like 2 years ago, I owned 2 Season Services. I owned a home building company, a custom home building company.
Yeah.
Started with my friend. That was awesome. I love that business. I'll get into it eventually, but I'm staying very focused on what I'm doing right now. And then I was also owning Deck Masters, And so in the last like year and a half or so, I got out of the home building business. It's still going, actually. It's a healthy company, but it was my first partnership I've ever done. And my friend, I partnered with one of my closest friends, and he approached me and he was just like, he had this voice inside of him that said that he wants to do it alone. Like he wanted to prove to himself that he didn't need me. And I don't know if that's something that I would want to try to convince him, like that's something he needs to figure out on his own. So I just removed myself from the business and let him take it from there. But I love that business because that was a custom home building company where it was cost plus 20%, soon to be moving to cost plus 25%, and super easy, awesome clients, good quality work. It was great. So I got out of that business. My lawn care company was kind of chugging along. We were doing it was like 100, it was pretty small, like 120 properties a week, and just kind of consistently chugging along. And I was waiting for the right team to actually come and have a vision and build it with me. And I just kept it in the back burner, and it would do several $100,000 a year. And I'm just waiting. Well, that person never came along. And while I was building Deck Masters, how I transitioned into Deck Masters was in a way kind of forcefully. So I'll tell that story a little bit. Behind the scenes of everything I've said so far, my wife has horrible autoimmune health issues, debilitating. And that was actually that's why I live in Hawaii, is for my wife. And now actually for me, for my kids, for our businesses, there's a lot of factors now that I see. But at first it was just for my wife because she had asthma, she had Crohn's, celiacs, and possibly even Lyme's, but we were tired of all the diagnoses. We're just whatever. She was falling apart, couldn't eat anything, and she would, I don't want to get into many details, but it was rough. And she had rashes on her skin. I'd come into the room, she'd be blacked out on the ground, just lack of oxygen. Just super scary, super dependent on drugs. Fast forward, 2012, actually, a doctor prescribed on a prescription piece of paper in Alaska, she said, move to Hawaii. And that's all she said. And it was all cap letters. It's in our fridge in Alaska, on our fridge, move to Hawaii. And I was a little bit frustrated. What kind of doctor would say, move to a different state? This is weird. Well, we started experimenting by coming to Hawaii for 3 to 4, 6 weeks. And every time Kylie would get off all of her prescriptive drugs, every single time. And we thought, oh, maybe it's because she's pregnant, which was often, or maybe it's because she's nursing. It was I think the first 12 years of our marriage, Kylie was pregnant and or nursing every month other than 6 months. It was crazy. And that also didn't help her. But when she was pregnant, she felt better because her immune system calmed down to save the baby. And then when she had the baby, it would just take a horrible nosedive and get way worse. Well, we started experimenting. We saw it actually working. So every time we came to Hawaii, she'd get better. And I was like, wow. Well, one year I just came here for 6 weeks. It was actually after the hardest year. I was nearly bankrupt. So do you think I should share that story? Where
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. So 2017, I'm all over the place trying to grow my company and doing this huge landscape project in Alaska, dredging out a lake. It was 1,100 lineal foot retainer wall in the water of a lake it was originally built in the 70s, and we were rebuilding it. And it was a man-made section of the lake. Well, we're doing this project. Fast forward, guys are lying on their time cards. And so we have false time cards, false payroll. On top of that, we have payroll taxes that are due that I couldn't even afford. Payroll in one quarter was over $300,000. Payroll taxes was $87,000 just for that quarter. And I couldn't pay for it. We also had a piece of equipment fall through the frozen ice into the lake, which caused damage, which opened up a lawsuit. And then the IRS was literally knocking on my door, demanding. They were driving around in a yellow Hummer, which I thought was weird. looking for me, calling me, like yelling at me, yelling at Kylie. They actually found Kylie, but they couldn't find me. And it was really scary. Like we were chased by the IRS basically to pay this 80-something thousand. And I couldn't, like not even a little bit. The client didn't even pay. Like, it was a huge mess. It blew up in my face. Well, as time went on, I kept just like, paying vendors off as I could, just, with more money that I was making, because that client ended up still not paying me, which is super disappointing. He owed like $50-something thousand. And then I think just in this project, we were negative $172,000. Just this one project, let alone losing money elsewhere, lack of management. So this is 2017. And 2018 comes around and I'm just like making money, and I'm working on actually just like slowly paying off vendors, and I'm communicating to everyone like, hey, we're going to get this taken care of. I'll make it right. I'm really sorry. And just doing the slow way of paying through things. And I had 22 guys with 6 trucks. We were doing 300-something properties at this time with 2 seasons on top of landscape jobs, on top of decks. And what happened was I had like 75% of my team members were using drugs. And I was like trying to help them recover and not relapse. They kept relapsing. I was trying to help them recover. And the culture of the company went from like guys like me and my friends and awesome guys doing the work, super clean, like not actually on drugs. It went from that to now most of the company, like everyone's using drugs or whatever it was. And it just got really, really dirty and really like we didn't have the integrity that we needed to at the time. Well, fast forward a little bit, I was fed up with it. And there was about 7 more weeks left to the year. I couldn't do it anymore. Like we weren't doing the quality that we needed to. And I just said, I emailed all 300 something clients and just said, hey, we're done with the fall. We're going to see you in the spring and we'll take care of your winter. Mass email, stop services. We had 7 more weeks left, fired everyone but one person. Put everything in the Connex, like just locked it up. And then I went to Hawaii for 6 weeks trying to figure out if I should file for bankruptcy or if I should keep moving forward on this slow payback system that I was on. And I was being advised by like 5 individuals. Jonathan was one of them. Jason Cupp was another. And most were advising, hey, I think bankruptcy might be a better option for you. And Jonathan gave me my favorite advice, which was, he said, Jordan, I think only you know what you should do. And he was right. Like I knew deep down what I needed to do. And it wasn't file for bankruptcy. It was just do the right thing, keep moving forward, but in a more aggressive way. And so at this time, it's November 2018, Service Autopilot Conference. While I'm at the conference, my wife and our 5 kids are in Hawaii. And I'm basically debating bankruptcy, no bankruptcy, bankruptcy, no bankruptcy, talking to as many people as I can, trying to get information. And Jonathan, at one of his talks, I was sitting front and center. And it felt like he was talking to me. I think it may have been his opening, like keynote. And he started asking this question, and it felt like it was just me and him in the room. It was so cool. This is a core memory that I have. And he said, what is the one service that you do best? And in my head, I said, deck building. He said, what is the service that you can sell the easiest? And I was like, deck building. What is the service that your clients get the best experience? Deck building. What is the service? He asked like 7 or 8 questions. What is that one service? What's the most profitable service that you offer? Deck building. What's the service that you offer that's the most revenue? Deck building. I was like, holy cow. And in my head, I was like, I just need to start a deck building business. And so that's what I did. I get back to Hawaii. And on my way to, actually on the flight to Hawaii, I almost died, literally. This actually changed my life too. So that happened in Dallas. I'm flying from Dallas to Maui. Or maybe Dallas to Oahu, but either way, flying to Hawaii. And we had the worst turbulence. I love flying. It's like my favorite thing, truly, actually, my favorite thing. Flying a small plane, big plane, doesn't matter. I love being in the air. And while we're flying, we had the worst turbulence ever. The plane's dropping. It's got to be dropping 70, 100 feet at a time. Things were flying up, hitting the ceiling. People were hitting their head on the ceiling. People were screaming. Things were falling.
Been there.
People were on their knees praying. People were, it was.
Throwing up.
You have?
No, I've been on a plane similar to this going into Vegas one year. Same thing. People were throwing up. People were screaming. They were praying. When we landed, it's no joke. There's a small plane. The wing busted off, like a 75 mile an hour crosswinds. It was a wild ride.
Yep. So the same thing. And I took ground school like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I studied like how planes were built. My grandpa worked at Boeing. And I was sitting at the window and I looked at the wing and I just saw the wing moving so aggressively. And I thought, that wing is not made to have that type of force on that thing. Like that wing's going to fly off and this plane's going to go down into the Pacific. And I was 99% sure we were going to die. And so I just stopped and I just started praying. I said, God, please, like, I do not want to die. Like, please, like, I don't want to die. I started like begging God, like, I want to live. And the voice came back. God said, he said, what are you afraid of? And I said, well, I don't want to leave my wife and kids. Like, I'm their protector, I'm their provider. Like, I want to walk my daughters down the aisle. I want to live a long life. Like, one of my goals is to live to be 109 years old. And if I do that, I'll live in 3 centuries. Like, that's a goal. Like, I want to live a long life. And he's like, what are you afraid of? I was like, I'm afraid of leaving my family and leaving them into this mess of potential bankruptcy. Like, I can't die right now. And the response was, do you care about your wife and kids more than I do? Meaning, do I care more about my wife and kids than God does? And I thought to myself, like, no, like, God cares about my wife and kids more than I do. Like, I truly believe that. And then the response was, well, then what are you afraid of? Meaning, like, I have your wife and kids. And then my response was nothing. Like, I'm actually afraid of nothing. And I got this supernatural peace on the plane, and it made no sense to me because we're still going up and down very aggressively. And nothing could have shook me. Nothing could have made my blood pressure go up. I was calm. I felt like I was not even in the plane. It was the weirdest thing. And it's never left me. And that created this foundation of fearless, of there's no failing, actually. Like, I believe there's no such thing as failing. It's just, you're either going to keep moving forward or you're going to quit. There's no like fail. Like, failing would be quitting. And that experience literally created the foundation of what birthed after this. So mind you, this is November of 2018. I moved to Hawaii with my wife and 5 kids, with my 6th kid on the way at 28 years old for 6 months a year. 9 months later. Literally, like, that happened. I've been here for 5 years, or this is our 5th year that we're going into. So it's just crazy how things quickly moved into that. But I started Deck Masters, and it grew super fast and very successfully. And we just kept niching down, and we said no more than we said yes, meaning we found our niche of clients that we wanted to work with, and we found who we didn't want to work with. And our clients had to fit in this specific, type of avatar of a client. And we only service these clients, and they love us. Like, it's the easiest, funnest business I've ever built. Truly.
Yeah, that was deep. I actually, when you tell me the story, I got the chills.
Wow.
And so, do your clients have really big decks or really small decks?
Our clients have probably an average deck. Have you ever seen that video of the guy from New Zealand?
Yeah.
I love that guy. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So our clients have average decks, and they're probably, our average client is like middle-aged, between like 35, 55-ish, like right around there. That's not middle-aged, but with our client base it is. And most likely two working people, mom and dad working, kids in school or just getting out of school, and they want a deck. They have the money, but they don't know how to build the deck. And if they did, they don't really want to. And so those are our clients. And our average deck is about $22,000. And it used to take us about 2 weeks to do profitably. And now we're getting them done in about a day and a half. And it's amazing, truly amazing.
Is there that many decks out there in Hawaii?
So I'm doing 0 decks in Hawaii. Actually,
So they're all in Alaska.
Yeah, I'm 100% remote contractor. So that's what I help contractors do, is create the systems. Like I do all of our sales 100% remotely. I never step foot. No one in my whole team steps foot on a property to present an estimate. We're going to be doing about $3 million this year, and like right below 3 million, maybe. I'm bringing on a whole new crew, so we might actually break 3 million. But we literally don't step foot on our properties until we're starting the project, unless the client wants us to, which is probably 10%, 5% of the time, super rarely.
So do you have to fly back for that, or do you have someone that in Anchorage that'll go do it?
Yeah, so I don't fly back for anything. We just have a team member. We have a whole sales process and a touch point. I built a whole system. It's kind of like a Kanban view, but it's every project goes through a Kanban, and then it's also tied to a Gantt chart and for scheduling. And every section has like a person on our team who's responsible for that whole section. And whenever a client project goes into that, they have to take it, move it to the next one, and then we adjust it from there. Super clean, super easy. And yeah, we're doing 100% remotely. Like I'm sales. So I talked to the client one time now. And I was actually, so like 9 months ago, I was involved with every estimate, 100% of them, because I didn't want to let that go, because I didn't have the perfect system. Well, over the last like 9 months or so, we got to where I don't have to be involved at all. Like literally me, like I can trust my team, all of our systems, our estimating. And what I did is I have a VA from the Philippines who we have multiple different emails, and I have multiple companies. And so I don't like email. I can't stand email. All emails go to the VA in the Philippines, and she filters them, and she's fantastic. Her name's Angelica. I love her. I'm actually going to meet with her next week because we're going to promote her and give her more work, more responsibilities. She's awesome. And then when she's done, she passes it to our office manager, and then our office manager takes all the emails and solves all of them. And then if she can't solve an email, she'll pass it on to me. So I'll get like 1 out of 150 emails, maybe. And it'll be scheduled, because I hate email. But I love phone calls. I love meeting with clients over the phone. I love conflict resolution, all that kind of stuff. Team building, culture, recruiting. That's kind of my whole thing, and sales.
For sure. That's super awesome. So going back to the story then, have you been able to pay off most of your debt from the IRS, from the back taxes, like the vendors, things like that?
Yeah. So a year ago, this month actually, or last month, October, we paid off the IRS, completely done. The excavator that was damaged, it was like $63,000 we owe. I think we will have that paid off in like 2 more years or something like that.
Were they, yeah, I was going to say, were there, all these people were pretty cool about it? The IRS, obviously they say what a payment plan.
IRS has been kind of confusing, especially through COVID. I had a installment plan with them set up, and then when COVID hit, the lady that was working on it like dropped the ball, and I called like 9 months later, like, hey, these payments aren't coming out of my account. And she's like, oh yeah, I just need to submit it. And then like 9 months later, I was like, you're still not pulling money out. And then they fired her and hired a new person. So anyway, long story short, the IRS is super unorganized, and
Well, they just hired 80,000 agents.
I know, it's ridiculous. They also just mailed me again and said that I owed like $20,000 more from that same time. And I'm like, you guys are all over the place. So we're still trying to figure something out, but I did pay what was due 2017. It was third quarter taxes 2017, totally paid.
Super awesome. What about the vendors and small ones like that?
Yeah, all vendors, everyone. No, literally bankruptcy is not even like, it's like all that's behind us. We're moving forward. Yeah, it's super amazing.
So then how does the sale of the 2 seasons come about then?
That's because it was a distraction. The team that I had.
So you fired everyone that year, 2018, roughly.
Yeah, we opened it back up. And we had the 300 something clients. We actually fired every client down to like 60, and then we raised the prices, and then we slowly built it up on a whole new pricing system, which was such a good idea. Actually, that business, the best model that I found out, I was afraid to do it for a lot of years, is raise price every year, and you will get the clients that complain the most to just fall off and not be clients. And then the clients that are great are like, yeah, absolutely, we love you guys. And, they pay you gladly. And then you get more new clients at that new rate. It's way better. And I did that as like a cadence. And it took me a while to have the courage to do it. But once I did it, it was a no-brainer. So that's a huge, just if you're in that industry or an industry where you're within several $100s a month of services that it's recurring, you got to raise the price. Have to. It's like a no-brainer. And with inflation, this whole inflation, like 40-something% inflation, right? I mean, really, it's probably even more than that. But that taught everyone across the nation about price increase and inflation. Prior to that, the government used to hold inflation down. It used to prevent inflation from happening. And so clients, for like 3 decades, clients never really thought and understood that prices should go up. They would always want to push back. And now it's like, well, we get it. Like everything went up, So
yeah. So then how does the sale come about then? Like you said, I know you got too focused, but then like, was that hard for you to let your baby go or just full send?
It's still hard to let my baby go. 16 years, it's still hard. I'm thankfully still involved. The gentleman that bought the company, he owns the company. He bought it. I'm still involved because I care a lot in the sense of like just passing it off and making sure it's being taken care of properly. So he's he actually jumps on the contractor hot seat calls, and we'll learn from guys all over together so that we can just keep in touch and keep moving along. It was very hard. It's actually still hard. But I didn't sell the name 2 seasons. I sold the client list and the assets. And I was actually surprised. I thought I was only going to get not a lot from it, like 50 grand or something like that. I'll be making probably close to 110-ish thousand from the sale, which kind of blew me away. And that's including assets, client lists, assets. And then I also worked out an agreement for him where we have organic leads coming through our website, like automatically, like 3 to 5 a day because of our SEO and the marketing stuff that we did. And we're working out a deal where he actually will take these leads and pay me for them, just the leads that I get on the website, which is pretty cool.
So why did you not sell the 2 seasons name?
Because I have debt attached to it. And
okay.
It was kind of a messy transition. And then also Alaska, if you live in Alaska, there's kind of a play on words with 2 seasons. There's construction and winter. And I see myself as like a contracting business owner, like a construction business owner. And I'll eventually own like hundreds of businesses across the nation, big portfolio company of businesses, also real estate, cash flowing that. Like that's where I'm headed. And then the mastermind group, like those are the 3 like things that I just know they're going to come to pass for sure. Well, Yeah, two seasons can be construction and winter. And so and our SEO is so good, and we still get deck leads through there too, because it's a general contracting landscape company. And so I kind of just kept it to like create leads, but I'm unsure about the name. I've never sold a name, never sold like, that whole system yet. So it was a quick decision to sell the client list and the assets. That was easy. The rest of it with the debt and everything, I got to figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. You brought up a good topic though. Like just for example, for the people that are listening, whether it's just like pest control or lawn care, whatever it may be, like a $500 client versus a $5,000 or a $50,000 client. The $500 client's one who's always just bitching and complaining. They missed this and missed that and didn't do this and didn't do that. And the $50,000 person that you're gonna pay a year, they're like, never hear from them. Checks in the mail. That's all they say. It's so crazy.
It is.
So and then finding your niche, like you said, of the customer that you're going after, your customer avatar, like it's so much easier to work with those people.
Right.
But just starting out, for a lot of people that are listening, it's hard to get there, right? Like, it takes a while to figure it out.
Yeah, no, it is. A lot of that's trial and error, just getting yourself out there.
Yeah. Is there a lot of decks in Anchorage? Anchorage is like 800,000, if I remember right. The population, am I correct?
No,
there?
Anchorage is 320, I think.
320? Okay.
It used to be
Gotcha.
close to the 4, but it's gone down. Alaska is like 700,000, the whole state of Alaska. So
do you see yourself running out of decks to build, or is it like just a never ending thing?
no, I don't, because huge development residential market in the 80s and 90s and 70s, there's a lot of homes built. All those decks are getting rotten. They need to be replaced. And I guess maybe in 15 years, maybe, I don't know, but there's so much development happening, neighborhoods, people are moving further into like the country areas, less in the city,
And now that COVID's all through, is everyone starting to move back now? Like, are more people starting to move back into Alaska and Hawaii?
Alaska is almost turning into my opinion, like a dead state, unfortunately, because oil got shut down. And the fish, so oil, tourism, and fish are like super huge in Alaska. Fish is getting hit hard, and they're making crazy regulations on fish. And then the oil is like nearly non-existent, but there's word that there's something coming, which is good, because that
An election, maybe?
No, there's something. Well, that'd be awesome. But there's something coming in the sense of there's like an oil drilling company coming and like gonna create, because they create so many jobs for Alaskans. Like, I remember one day I had like 22 clients cancel on me, and I like looked at them. It was like 3 days, and like 22 people like canceled, and I was like, what happened? So I started researching, like, wait, they all live in like the same neighborhood. They're all in the oil industry. And it was when Obama was in office, and he like shut down a huge oil plant up in Alaska. And literally, like, my favorite clients all lost their job. And I used to think that they were like the high dog on the totem pole, and they all were fired in a second, having to sell their house and move like instantly. And at that moment, I realized, like, wow, no one's stable. No one has a stable position. Even if you're the top dog at making hundreds of thousands of dollars in the oil industry, like, you're not stable. Like, you'll only create stability in your life in the way that you pour into your life and invest into yourself and take massive action, in that way.
Is there a reason that you're not doing decks in Hawaii, or is it just against the whole model, like the whole remote contract?
I think the biggest thing is I'm perfecting the deck model so well, and we're getting such huge levers and success from it that I could easily do that. But decks in Alaska or in Hawaii, they don't really think of decks like they do. Like, they're more patio, concrete, less like composite decking. Alaska entertains in the summer on their decks. And so summertime, like, the sun goes in like a circle, basically. It's up all the time. People want to just be on their deck, barbecuing with their friends and family. And Hawaii, not so much. They're on their lanai, like, they don't have a lot of decks. and then they either go, to the beaches or hikes and stuff. So it's not like as big of a focus here.
Yeah. And so you've created this super awesome model, the remote contractor. You figured it out by living in 2 different states. And you're like, hey, like other people need to learn this skill.
Yeah.
So you say, hey, I'm going to go make a mastermind to do this, which does not surprise me. How did you launch that?
I've been working on this with a friend of mine that lives in Washington since I
remember you telling me a couple of years ago, if he was like, yeah.
He moved to Washington in 2018, and we had the foundation of Freedom Brothers. I've been talking and journaling about Freedom Brothers since 2015, actually. It kind of came out of my heart, like journaling. And I grew up with brothers only, and I love the man-to-man way of communicating, just direct to the point. And I love the camaraderie with guys. It's a community where we will bring wives in, but the community itself is just for men. And it's for men who own businesses. And so how I launched that is through friends. So I have like a whole network of contractors and friends that are in the industry, and just talking to them, conversing with them, helping them with their businesses, helping them with their marriage, their kids, all those things, right? And that's the biggest thing is we want to focus on, there's 7 actually factors, but 4 of them are like the biggest. And it's what I found is when I focus on my faith, which is different for everyone, like, not believing in God can be your faith, truly. Your faith, your family, your fitness, and your finances. So all 4 of those things are a priority. And everyone that joins this community, we ask that in order to join, you have to commit to being able and willing to talk about those things and committing to be the best version of yourself in those areas. And if you can't commit to all 4, then you're probably not a good fit, and it doesn't have to be like this denomination or that denomination in faith. It's just like, dude, just commit to knowing yourself spiritually, knowing where you're going, understanding that world, your physical body. Like, I don't know if you can probably not tell, but I lost like 40 pounds.
You look great. Dude, trust me, I can tell.
This is the beginning.
I was gonna say it. You look shredded already. You look great,
dude. So my daughter, who's 14, I have 3 daughters. My daughter, who's 14, she was looking at Tommy, who's the Spider-Man guy. Spider-Man. Hold on, I have a picture actually. I'll show it. She was looking at this picture on the computer. Right there. Do you see that?
Yep.
It's the Spider-Man guy, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember not Tom Hardy. Anyway, she was looking at that, and I kind of walked behind her, and I was like, why are you looking at those pictures? And, kind of like, just like, what's going on here? And she's like, he's so cute. And I said, Vivian, I was like, he's not even that good looking. She's like, he's really ripped. I said, I could look better than him at Christmas. And she looked at me, she's like, no, you can't. I said, watch me. And so I've been like super determined to, this is like, these next 2 months I'm still cutting. I'm going to be building come the beginning of the year. But John DeCostmaker taught me about Superhuman. And I actually joined that community. So this is my first week being a part of it. But I got myself here, and I plateaued for like 6 months, and I kept experimenting with things and I'm talking physically. Maybe I did like a 1.5 mile sprint, and I tried eating a certain way, and I tried being active and I kept doing what made sense in my mind, and nothing was changing for like 6 months. And then when I saw John's photo on Facebook, I couldn't believe it. I just called him. I was like, John, like, what the heck happened, man? This is amazing. And then he shared it with me, and I joined. So this is the beginning. I've committed the next 12 months. I also haven't drank like any alcohol since April 13th of this year. So that's kind of been a change. I just felt like I should. Doesn't mean I'll never drink, but I'll drink when that time comes. I don't know when that's going to be, but my goal was 6 months, and it's been like 6.5 months.
Yeah, no, you look incredible. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It's actually really exciting, truly, because I didn't realize how bad I got. I see pictures, I'm just like, what the heck? That was crazy how that, like, I never thought that was possible.
Yeah.
Truly.
So then you get these people into the group, right? You focus on the 4 things. And then from that group, do you try to choose the ones who go into your paid version?
The paid version, you have to be doing over like $500,000 a year to make sense. And we can for free help you get there quickly, like within. So historically, with the clients that we work with, we've helped them get to a 7-figure business within 7 weeks. Like that's what we're able to do. And this is with contractors. So this is where contractors are selling services between $10,000 and $40,000. And it's stupid easy to get those revenue marks. The hard part is making sure you're making profit, managing the team, managing the client's expectation on the schedule, doing a good job. And so we have guaranteed results in the paid. The free is like camaraderie, everyone working together, just helping. It's awesome. It's like this. And as the paid gets bigger and bigger, we'll do more things like we've done in the academy, because the foundation of Freedom Brothers truly started with my experience in the academy and how it transformed everything in my mind. Like I would not be here, period, if it wasn't for the mastermind group of Service Autopilot Academy. Like it changed my life. It will change my kids' lives. Like, was it worth it? It was priceless, literally, truly. And so and so this contractor hot seat is like a cadence where we just jump in and dive into the hot seat. Some guys like it to get really hot and really like us poking at their business and their life or their marriage.
Well, it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. Like that's what real friends do.
Yep.
Like, yeah, man, that's not good. That's not right. You can't do that. Like, fix that now. Like, that's what real friends do. It's the guys who are just like, whatever. Like, those people don't truly care. It's the same thing with marriage. So, like, if your best friend's doing something stupid, right? Like, call them out. Like, man, that's not right. Don't do that. And they're like, yeah, you're probably right. But those are your real friends.
100%.
And it was kind of like our group, right? And I felt like Academy was that way too. Like, we had the hot seats and people were calling you out and people texting you on the side or calling you. Like, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. I did have one question for you though about the hot seat.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's in regards to your podcast, because my advice that has been given to me through mentorship was starting a podcast. And so we're doing like a mini on mini hot seat where like everyone comes together. I want to do a form like this, one-on-one podcast style, diving into actually specific things and hearing their stories and hearing contractors from all over the world. The question I have for you, if you don't mind doing this, is would you recommend me naming like the podcast like Contractor Hot Seat or like Jordan Webb or Freedom Brothers? You know, that's the part I know that's a minimal thing. It's not a big deal.
Right. I think it's just the brand that you're going after, right? If you're trying to build your personal brand of Jordan Webb, that's what I would do. If you're trying to build a Freedom brand,
I was leaning towards Jordan Webb for sure.
Yeah. If you're trying to grow your personal brand, like the Pest Control Millionaire is our personal brand. You know, if you're trying to grow that, stick with that name.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That would be my recommendation. But what do I know?
I like Contractor Hot Seat because it speaks to contractors.
It does. I agree.
I think in that setting, I would rather contractors learn and hear from other contractors. Like you'd be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be surprised, but
that's what I was saying. Like if you're trying to, whatever you're trying to brand, like if you're trying to brand the Contractor Hot Seat, definitely change that. So whatever you really want to grow and brand, that's what I would use.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And it's fun. Like the hot seats are fun. It just, that's really where you learn. Yeah. And yeah, you can get some tough love, right? But you have to humble yourself. Like you don't have all the answers. Like you need to grow. You need to get better.
Totally.
So there was a year, like I had this written down. I don't know what the year was. Didn't you like go up and read like an obscene amount of books one year? Like it was like, maybe it was like 60 or 70 books or something in a year. Like you just didn't talk to anyone, didn't listen to anything. It was just straight books the whole year.
Yes. Actually, I did that like 3 years in a row. I think in like 3 years, I read like 190 something books or something like that. And I'm not on that same cadence, to be clear. that changed a little bit. I think since then, so that was 2016, 17, 18. I think 18, I almost fell off of it. 19 and 20 anyway.
But you went from learning to implement.
Yes. And I started finding that pattern of these books. I was hearing the same stuff, and it all came down to taking action. It all came down to like this book right here, Ready, Fire, Aim. Like you got to find the answer. It's not by reading a book, well, although reading a book could get you the answer, but it's taking action after reading the book, not just reading the book. Like I know people that have read, literally not kidding you, I know one guy specifically has read like thousands of books. Well, that wouldn't be good if you only just read the books. You got to do and take action and make change after
Absolutely.
reading the books. So,
and that's the roadblock where people run into, though. I hear it a day in and day out from people who are in the industry. Like they're just not willing to do what most people will. Like the people that will, I should say, are the ones that are going to go out and do it. It's the ones that just sit there and think, and it's like the paralysis by analysis, right? Like they have all the information, but they don't know what to do with it. It's like, just go do the work, like go knock the door like you did to start the business. Go ride around on a boat. Like, yeah, you don't know the outcome. You don't know if it's good or bad, but you're only going to get better. You're only going to get better, only be stronger, better leader, all the above. Shit, I knocked a door yesterday, for real. Like, I'm no better than anyone else. Like, I'm not going to send out people that to go do something that I wouldn't do. Should I have done it? Was it worth my time? Probably not, but I was driving by and it's such a nice house, I couldn't not knock it.
That's amazing. I want to add, if we're good on time, to fully answer your question, this is a great example of just moving forward, is how I launched Freedom Brothers, okay? I've never built a mastermind group. I've never built a community of contractors. I've never done that. And I've read, I've listened, I've seen it done. I've been a part of it. I've been a part of multiple masterminds. And actually, like right now, I'm part of 3 of them, literally. Like I'm a part of 3 different types of masterminds. And when I started this, I can tell a contractor like, well, to get leads and get sales and to have an operating system and actually perfect your permitting process all the way to the construction, to recruiting, to hiring VAs, to all the things, right? Like I could do that, but this is a whole nother business. It's 2 types of businesses that I'm running. Now it's like, wait, so to move forward on that, I literally for years was in my head, like, man, like how I asked you about the podcast, like I did that kind of stuff. Like, should it be called Freedom Brothers? Should it be called this? Should it be called, like, all over, right? And I never made any decisions. I'm very thankful that I didn't, though, at that time, because I needed to learn what I needed to learn. And now is definitely the time. And the last many months have been the time. I actually launched it in May. And what I did was I reached out to as many contractors as I know. And I created an Excel spreadsheet of 100 companies, people that I know that might be interested. If not, they might know someone that's interested to be a part of the contractor hot seat. And I just started calling them and inviting them, calling them, inviting them, calling them, inviting them. And as time went on, I started hearing the need, like, well, this community would be better if we did this. And we just, like a month ago, put the community into a forum online where we have recordings. It has like a classroom and it's super organized. And then I can create recordings and like post it on there and lock people out or unlock people. And like, I didn't get there until hearing what they needed. They're like, well, it'd be cool if we did this. So I did research and then did that. And then as far as outreach and like getting strangers, literally strangers that I don't know rather than just friends, is I put up an ad, like literally with my phone, recorded it, horrible video, horrible audio. And I started paying for ads, $10 a day per ad. There was 3 ads just to see what happens. And I actually got leads, which was crazy, and had ads going out there on Instagram and Facebook. And then like 2 weeks later, I perfected the ads. We just got like 30 contractor between the next like 2 weeks, I have 30 new meetings with contractors, one-on-one Zoom meetings where I'm helping them analyze, one, if they're a good fit for Freedom Brothers. And that's like 20-ish% of the time. They most likely would be a good fit for contractor hot seat. and then helping them get like momentum now, like whether it's their marriage. I rate them on the call. Like I have them rate on the call, where are you at with your faith? If you were to say, where are you at with your relationship with your wife and your kids? Where are you at with your finances and your body? And actually consistently, guess what the weakest one is?
If I had to guess, they're contractors, they're working a lot. I'm going to say their family.
Okay. So I would say that too, honestly, but it's their finances.
Really?
So actually, I don't know one person off the top of my head right now that said, no, there's a couple guys that said family, but mostly finances, which to me, that's the easiest one to solve.
Yeah.
It's like, well, great, let's solve that now, which can free you up to think about your body, free you up. Because when you're going paycheck to paycheck, day to day, taken from Paul to Peter, Peter to Paul, and you can't even think about it's hard to think about your body, hard to think about your wife being neglected and your kids not seeing dad and your faith. Like all that stuff is on the back burner because you have to do these things now. And so we help solve that first.
Yeah, and I want to unpack something that you said that maybe the listeners didn't catch on. You said that you're at a business, part of your life in business where you don't even know what you're doing. Like you're trying to still figure this part out, but you had the courage to put yourself out there and go learn and go do that without knowing what to do, but you figured it out. And that's what you have to do. Like you're not every level of business has been different. And you just get to those points like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get there, but you have the courage, you just go figure it out. And I commend you for that because a lot of people won't do that. And you were doing the cold calling, doing the cold emailing, walking around with a cell phone, making 3 different ads to see which one's spending $10 a day on each ad to see which one does the best, right? Okay, well, this one's done really good. Let's do 2 more versions like this one. And like, okay, well, this one works better. Like, it just figuring out which that ad is it's going to do really bad. Now you're going to spend $30 on this one ad that's going to just generate lead after lead after lead. And that's the little things that it takes. But you have to go do it.
I want to add this too, and a lot of people might not know this. I don't know if you're using it. If not, you should. So I don't actually know what I'm using because I'm not overseeing marketing. But it's the software that actually will A/B test all of our ads and all of our short form ads. And it will A/B test, and then it will automatically like put the least producing one on the back burner and double down on the one that's getting the most results, all through AI. Whereas before I would have to pay like a marketing team to do that. Now it's just literally being done AI. Like my leads, just in the last week for Freedom Brothers, went from $142 a lead down to $12.
Amazing. What is that called?
I'll let you know. I don't know. But isn't that awesome?
It's amazing.
I don't know what it is because that's not my specialty. I don't sit in that seat. But we tracked it literally 142 to 12, all in 10 days. And this video that I submit, it was not like a good video. I spent 1 minute and 20 seconds on this video. I sent it to my brother because he's a diet coach and he's trying to help people in that way. And he's building a similar community, but for diet. And he's like, what? I said, Dylan, I have like 20 leads. And he's like, no way, how? And I was like, well, I got ads going. And he's like, really? Show me. And I sent him my 3 ads going. And he says, oh, I don't like them. He's like, I think you need to work harder on them. You need to perfect them. You need to make them better. And you need to make your message more clear. And my response was, my crappy ad is a lot better than the ad that you're not doing.
Couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, and I said, you should have seen my first ad. It was horrible. It was so bad. And this is the second one. I said, and then in a week or 2, I'll perfect the video and the messaging. And then I'll perfect it again. Because I want to build a community of contractors, thousands of contractors for free to work together to build our businesses. Like,
yeah, in like those organic videos, you're just being genuine, and it's not overproduced. And Dalton's on here, and he'll tell you one of our best videos on TikTok and YouTube has like I don't know, 15 million or 17 million views, something like that. And it's a dude in front of his iPhone talking about mosquitoes. So it just, no. And it's super simple like that. But again, people are just trying to over perfect it and make it, like your brother said, like, oh, it's not good enough. I don't like it. But guess what? It's still 90% more than what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I try to turn it back over to my brother. Like, you're saying you want to do these things too, but you're literally paralyzed because you
Massive
want
action. Massive action.
Like what I'm doing is way better. And on top of that, as a testimony, the people that are joining Freedom Brothers, he said, when I saw your video, he said instantly something like, he said, I felt it. I knew I needed to work with you. I knew it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're just being genuine. You're being yourself.
Exactly. And so anyway, that's exciting. I'll send you the information.
Cool. I appreciate it. I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. You had it in there, but what do the next 5 years look like for Jordan Webb?
5 years? Well, I'll probably be a grandpa, possibly. That sounds crazy, but...
Because how old are you now?
I'm 32. 32. My oldest daughter's 16 and a half. She's almost 17, but she's super mature, super amazing. If you hear this and you're a young man that's a stud, and you should get a hold of me, because I'm going to do like my own form of bachelorette. It's like, I want to have like the awesome dude. Anyway, but I do see myself becoming a grandfather in my 30s, the next 8 years for sure, which is crazy. That means 5 of my kids will be out of my house if they move out at 18 by 40, and I'll have 3 kids left. So that's kind of like something I just accepted a couple of weeks ago. I just realized, like, wait a minute, I'm 32. I'm probably going to be a grandfather before I'm 40. Like, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, so that's cool. But the next 5 years, I want to help thousands and thousands of contractors transform their business. That's like the most simplest thing. That's my vocation that like feeds my soul. And it's doing what Jonathan did with us. Like, I'm so glad to do that. So that's one thing, helping contractors and building the best deck building system that you can have, and finding deck building companies across the states, buying them, or revamping them, or helping them build. You know, we don't have to have ownership, but basically building a like portfolio of businesses across the states around that industry, and just getting really, really, really good at it. So that, making tons of memories. I want to travel the world with my kids. So every time one of my kids turns 16, we're going to do an international trip. So in the next 5 years, I'll be doing 5 international trips with that one kid and my wife. So we want to travel, and I want my body to never look like this again. Like, this is okay, but like where it's going to be in a year and 2 years, it's just going to stay like that for the rest of my life. Like, I will never let my body get to where it was and where it is now even. Like, actually, Tommy Mello said something. I think it was Tommy, or it was Andy.
Elliot.
Elliot, dude, he's phenomenal. I love him.
He's a monster.
He is. But Tommy Mello, I think. Oh, no, it was Tommy. I think he was talking to Grant. He said, my business is the best it's ever been, but it's the worst it'll ever be.
I love that.
It's the best that it's ever been, but it's the worst that it'll ever be. And I see that with my faith, my family, my fitness, my finances. It's the best it's ever been, but it's the worst it'll ever be. Truly. Like, that's what I'm going to be doing in 5 years.
Cool. And the question that I always end with, what are you most proud of?
Probably the relationship that I have with my wife, because of where we started and what we went through, and the fact that we're here. We had like several touch and go years of marriage, and I'm most proud that we're still together, stronger than ever, more connected than we've ever been, ever. And we've known each other for 26 years, since I was 6 years old. And actually like 9 months ago, we were going through the hardest season of our marriage ever. And it actually made us way stronger though. Like, where we're at now is amazing. Like, literally her dreams in marriage and my dreams in marriage are both happening at the same time.
Super awesome. Yeah, and there are so many stories that we could talk about that you've been through that we just don't need to talk here. But it's been a wild ride, and it's been fun talking to you. I appreciate your friendship more than you probably ever know. We don't talk every day, but I can still consider you one of my best friends. So you know that I'm always rooting for you. I'm always following you closely. And again, thanks for your friendship. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.